The goal is we're going to go outside probably about 2:15. So that way if anybody wants to get out of here early, already flown a drone, you can just skip out. If you have it, we'll just go out in the parking lot. We'll take the drone. Anybody wants to fly it, you can throw it up in the air. You want to fly it autonomously, we can do that as well. Okay. All right, so now for the UAV and drone portion of the presentation. I kind of told you about my background with scanning. I've been flying the UAVs for a little over almost 5 years now. I am FAA certified pilot, remote pilot. How many pilots do we have in the room? Wow, quite a few, right? So it's not too bad. It's a 2-hour test. We'll be more than happy to help you. We have PowerPoints, study material to help you get that, pass that test your first time. You can sign up pretty much anywhere and take the test. I think we ended up over in Canton just because we signed up for whoever could get us in immediately. I think it was August when they first announced the rules that you could get your certified pilot license. We also do training on the drone. So if you buy a drone or before you buy a drone, you can come in, do 1 day. We teach you everything about the app. And it's not just flying it. I think if we go out in the parking lot and you fly the drone once, you feel like an expert and everybody knows how easy it is. Right? There's not much to it. But there are safety reasons, precautionary things when you're on site that you want to take a look at. What happens if the battery goes dead? What happens if you lose connection? Just the things why doesn't it connect? There's a ton of other things in there that you want to be aware of. When does it automatically return home? Is it 20%, 15%? So there's a little software package that we introduce you to. We help you pass or study at least. We haven't had anybody fail yet, but we help you study for the FAA. And then we fly the drone autonomously, and the second day is all about making deliverables. So extracting the data, taking photogrammetry, and creating geotiffs, point clouds, and kind of everything I'm going to show you today to give you an idea. We do online or on-site training, project training, as well as if you had a project you just want to try it out before you buy it, we would help you out on that as well and make sure it's delivered properly. It's a little fun here before we get started, just thinking about drones, and it feels like it just popped up yesterday. I think was it 2 years ago already? Amazon was, right before Christmas, telling everybody they're going to start delivering packages. Has anybody had a drone deliver anything yet? Right? So it's here before you know it. It's like the autonomous driving, the vehicles, right? The driverless cars. It's the same technology. It's just going to be here one day. We're going to wonder where it came from. Well, if you take a look here, we're talking, drones have been around for over 50 years, right? World War II is pretty incredible. If you look at that dollar amount, $3 billion, I kind of see why now my remote control airplane goes up in the air and it doesn't crash all the time. And it's remarkable what the military is using. The Predator, think about it, it's just sitting up in the sky at 25,000 feet, and it can sit there for 40 hours and read a license plate from 2 miles in the air. Right? So is the government spying on anybody? So it's incredible what the capabilities are. Of course, ours aren't quite that cool, and they don't cost that much. But the idea of drone and what a drone does is different than the way we think of a drone. Right? This is where the military is using it. They're sitting in the combat or in their own little zone here in the cockpit area, and they have a target that they're going to try and hit with it from millions and millions of miles away, 1,000 miles away, wherever they are. And it really makes you think differently when you use the word drone, what's going on with it in the military, how they came around, right? I better turn that off real quick. So right, they're blowing things up. So the idea of the name drone, some people say politically, we don't want to say drones. We want to use UAV, UAS. I still use drones in all my marketing and everything we do because that gets you more hits on YouTube or on Google than anything else. So I'm going to keep doing that. It just sounds way cooler as well, but there is really no difference when it really comes down to it in terminology, the way we talk about it. I guess the military is not going to say they're going to go blow something up with a UAV, right, in their language. Quadcopters is what we're using. Over there in the bottom is an Inspire, so it just has the 4. As you take a look around the room, a multi-copter, a hexacopter. Hexacopter, of course, is 6. As you look up there, we'll talk about the different ones that we have up here as we move along. But of course, there's also octocopters. And over to my left, I'm kind of hiding it, but this is a fixed wing as well. So I don't know if anybody gets a chance to come up here and take a look at it. Should have hung that thing on the wall or something like that for everybody to see a little bit better. So a couple simple things. You got to fly the drone. A lot of people think it's complicated, so I just want to point out a couple things about this, how easy it is. The Inspire, even a Phantom, they're this big. I think we have one on the table over there. Most sites are 10 minutes, right? Typically, if you use Inspire, you get 30 minutes to fly a site. I'll show you one that we did in 10 minutes. It was 50 acres that we were able to capture. It was a beautiful sunny day, so it was actually traveling autonomously at 32 miles an hour. That's the fastest I've seen it go, but that was outside of Michigan because it's always cloudy here. What happens is it flies, the camera has to focus, and if it's cloudy, it will slow it down maybe to 8 miles an hour. So it does depend on the weather how fast it can go. So between 10 and 32 on the weather can vary how much you capture in one day, right, is the idea there. What kind of data do you get? Most people are going to talk about videos or just regular photos. Think about a geotiff, so it knows exactly where it is in the real world, and you can drop it right in. And also 3D point clouds from photogrammetry. You can deliver 2D and 3D, and we'll get into this a little bit more as we go. But we just want to focus right now on photogrammetry is what we're using on any of the drones that you see in this room. We talked earlier about LiDAR data being attached to the drone. Can we put the BLK 360 on there? You will probably see me do it the day after I get it. It's not really working. It's just going to be, hey, this is coming, right? It's a futuristic thing. The IMU is not nearly any good or good enough to actually get accurate data. Same with the puck that you guys mentioned. All the LiDAR data we're seeing, you can do it, and I can give you some companies if you want to look into it, but we're not seeing much of an advantage over the photogrammetry that we're getting right now, except for the Regal, which I looked 2 years ago, was 330,000, and the size of the table back there. I mean, gigantic. I've heard it came down to maybe a little over 100,000 now, so you're getting in the ballpark. Why was it SPAR? This is the one that intrigued me the most. I have absolutely no idea if it's any good yet or not. They had no sample data. They were just bragging about this is the next LiDAR data unit that you could put right on your drone. So we're anxious to see where this goes, and we're going to keep an eye on it, and we'll of course let you guys know if we throw this in there and get this working as well. So a few of you have already seen something like this. This is just a country club in Ohio. This was simply flown with an Inspire, all put together with photogrammetry. We did maybe a 10-minute flight over top taking photos, and then you go over top of the middle of a building, and you kind of set up a point and rotate around it, taking photos at different areas. So anything, if you're flying autonomously straight down, you would have shadows, and you're not going to see everything. You won't see the side of the faces of the building or the windows or the walls. It's going to block a lot of this. So you have to fly it to actually look at everything that you wanted to capture in order to be able to put it together. And as you zoom in real close, you can see it's not scan data because it's like a light version of point clouds. It has little rounded corners in certain places. This was 16 megapixels to give you an idea of level of detail. This one is now 20, and the one we have up here I believe is 52 megapixels. There's also a 100 megapixel camera available, so imagine the quality you could get compared to what we have here. I've actually looked into all sorts of drones, everything on the market, and tried to compare them. I've actually seen people using and flying their drones, and they say, look at our sample data, and it's actually laser scan data. And you can tell they're dumb enough to take out the little V where the scanner was sitting when they actually captured it with the drone. But you can tell this is not drone data, or this is not scan data quickly, because a scanner wouldn't return information from the water, right, the pool, which is kind of neat. So you can see it actually stitched that together. And then just to give you an idea how we made it look a little bit better than it is, anybody used Autodesk InfraWorks in the past, you can just window I think it's 2 square miles, anywhere in the world, and it will bring down this data set. So a geotiff on top of a DEM surface. So all the water is already in there. It's flowing, right, for the lake back here. It brings on all your roadways. Think of it as 3D GIS information. This program's super easy to use. You get a model in less than 2 minutes for the most part with good internet. And from that, you can make a very easy video. Literally on the phone, I could talk you through it, and you'd have it done in 5 minutes. So I think we had maybe an hour in this whole thing. So you open it up, create the model, drop the point cloud in it, and rotate it around. And that was it. If I go just for a second here on that one, I guess, because a lot of times whenever I show data, everybody's like, well, what good is that? That's great, pretty picture. What am I going to do with it, right? It's conceptual. So I don't have it in here. I just noticed as it went around. I guess I grabbed the wrong video. But the idea of this, and this was an actual project here. So I'm going to flip it around just a little bit farther. What the country club wanted to do was just get, oops, I'm not going to hold it there, early or easy buy-in from the stakeholders. So the idea is they want to take a Revit model, they want to renovate this building, and they wanted to show what it was going to look like if they did the addition. So all we did was throw it into InfraWorks, inserted the Revit model right next to it. It was actually on, I think it was this end, all the way over here. And then they just showed the point cloud in the video to the stakeholders. They loved it, and they moved on. So that was the entire goal of doing something like this, right? So do you need a laser scanner for everything? No. You know you're going to get better quality, better information, but sometimes a UAV, if it's just a visual inspection, that's all you need as well. So you know, it's the right tool for the right project. So just, you know, some of you guys already got started in this. Just want to share how I got started. Help anybody else get started is kind of what we do. We want to support it with you guys, help you guys along the way, see you guys be successful with UAVs or drones. I actually purchased my first one a little over 5 years ago, I guess. I knew drones was going to be a good technology, and it was fun. Since I was a kid, I wanted to fly remote control helicopters, right? Everybody probably had one. What happened to it? An hour, 10 minutes? They crash, and they're no good. So it's kind of the same idea with this. MQX, $150 on Amazon. I bought it. I flew in the basement. Probably crashed it 200 times. It was crazy. I thought I'd never be a good pilot. I was almost ready to give up. Took it outside, could fly it. But I stayed focused throughout the whole winter, right? We have nothing else to do in Michigan. Came springtime, I still wasn't very good at it. I could do it, but I still wasn't good enough to go do projects and brag about it. Luckily, the Dji Phantom came out. I don't think we have this one, but we have Phantom 4 back there now. And I just went out and bought it. I had $1,500 in this little unit, no camera on it, no GoPro or anything. You couldn't see where you were flying, right? You didn't have the heads-up display on your screen, which was a good thing because I actually watched the drone. Most crashes these days, you're not watching the drone, you're watching your screen, and then you hit something or you run into something. So it's kind of an old school lesson that you can learn to make sure you watch the drone. Turn off the heads-up display. This has GPS in it. Has anybody flown a Phantom before or better? Almost half of you, right? So everybody knows how easy it is. You literally throw it up in the air, and I can talk to you and everybody in here, and it just sits there and it won't move. The wind comes by, it moves it. The GPS moves it right back. It's instant response. Move it up, down, left, right. It stays right there. All of a sudden, I was an expert, just like that. Just make sure you fly outside, right? So then once you become an expert, you're ready for the next toy. We moved on to the Inspire 1. A couple advantages of this we'll talk about. A facade inspection, a little over 400 feet tall. You're looking up and you're trying to watch your drone. You want to make sure you're getting good information on the camera. Well, as soon as you take your eyes off and look back up at 400 feet, it takes a few seconds to locate that UAV again, that drone, and it can be hard to do, very difficult. So this is the only drone that I can think of on the market that has two controllers. So one person is watching the drone, and the other person was just controlling the camera and making sure you're getting good video or good pictures of it. The other advantage of this has landing gear, and we go outside, it goes up in the air, so your camera never has the props in it. That was kind of a problem with some of the older Phantoms. And this camera does go up a little bit, left and right, and you can turn it. So I said it was easy, so I want to test it out. This is my little girl. I think she was probably 3 at the time when she did it. She passed. You know, she doesn't have a remote pilot license yet, but we're working on it. I took it a step farther. He loved it. He thought this was the best thing ever. We have one of these on the desk if anybody wants to get it out, or Paige, if you want to break that out. It's literally a Nano Drone. It's $20 on Amazon. If we get time, I'll fly it up here and show you guys. It's easy. Buy 2 of them. The first one is practice, and I guarantee you crash it and break it. The second one, you'll get the hang of it and start using it to give you an idea. And just to repeat how much fun it is, you can see no matter what age, it's never a bad time to jump in and get started here. All right, so as you're moving up, we're kind of looking at the different UAVs. You know, you're really looking at the sensor. What's the megapixels on the camera? So a Phantom 4 has a 20 megapixel camera. So does an Inspire. So why should I get one over the other? Depends what you want to do with it, right? What are your goals? What are your projects? The biggest difference for us, the 2 controllers was nice. Also, when you land a Phantom, it has a really small base. So when it touches down, it can kind of fall down or flip over, hit the props. So we see a lot of people in the field trying to catch them out of the air. Well, then you're kind of going to have a problem with somebody getting hurt. One of the times it's going to get their fingers, different things. You can also fly in stronger winds. So imagine if you travel to a job or a project that's, you know, a couple hours away. Are you going to sit in the truck and wait for the wind to die? You're going to sit there another day just so you can fly the site. So the Inspire does help in that aspect as well. And now they're going to release, it's supposed to be this quarter. We haven't seen them where we can put our order in for them yet. But the 200 is the same as an Inspire 2 base and airframe, but the biggest difference is they work and more durable in the rain and the snow, so different temperatures. The other part of it is a little taller, as you can see there, but it is just for mapping. So then you can get the 210, which is more of an inspection drone, so you can put a camera on top of it. Right now with the Inspire I have to turn the camera up. I might get the bridge if I kind of keep going back and forth. It's going to be difficult. I can't see directly above me unless I put a GoPro on it. In this case, this camera does flip completely 180 degrees or 90 degrees in this case, and you could fly it under anything you want to capture it. You would also add a thermal camera option here, okay? And you can also put the mapping camera on there as well. So it holds 3 different cameras, kind of does everything, but the price goes up and each camera is a little more expensive as well. So we'll talk about thermal cameras as we go. We don't have ours yet. We've tested it. We're going to get one and rent it out to anybody that wants to use it as we move forward. And the third one, I think it's a 220, has RTK on it. So it has GPS and a more accurate, as you're flying, right? You're getting 2 centimeters accuracy where those photos are, where that data is. Compared to an Inspire, you're looking at a GPS unit that your photos are within 10 feet. The software, when you drag and drop it to the cloud, automatically accounts for that. And we'll talk about some of the accuracies later, but RTK is going to get you much more accuracy without any ground control. Ground control is still going to make it much better at the end of the day, so we always believe that you should use it, but if you had a site that you couldn't do it, RTK would really help. Anybody see the Osmo yet? Anybody own one of these? Not yet? So we had Inspire 1. We updated the camera, so we had the camera laying around. It's 12 megapixels. We have one on the back table. If you guys get a chance on break or before you leave, you want to take a look at it. Everybody's grown up. You look at as a kid, you look at your Christmas photos, your birthdays, and what happens to every one of your cameras when you're watching that movie? It's up here, it's down here, it's over here, right? It's not steady, it's shaky. Or you're in the field and you're trying to drive a car and film something. So this uses the UAV gimbal. So as you walk, it knows to adjust if you're moving your hand up and down. So if you're on a project site or need some good information or just want to do your kid's birthday party, this is the way to go. I think they're only like $450 maybe. Depends what camera you put on it. And then you just hook your iPhone onto the side so you can actually see what you're recording. And if you spot something and you put it on an object, you can literally walk around it and it will stay focused on that object as you walk around, which is kind of cool. So I don't know if it's just me or not, but it feels like DJI has just taken over the world lately. I wish it was a publicly traded company. Everything, how fast they can put out this new technology, it's even hard for us to keep up. The newest one is the first-person point of view glasses. So the difference between Inspire 1 and Inspire 2, when we got the Inspire 1, we had to look through our controllers to see where the drone was and where the camera was. If I'm flying the Inspire 1, I could only see what the camera was looking at. So if the camera's turned to the right, I'm flying blind, okay? The Inspire 2 has a heads-up display camera in the nose, so you're always looking at what the drone's looking at, and the other controller is looking at the camera underneath. So that was a nice little thing that they changed or updated on the Inspire 2. Now imagine you're flying, and while you're flying, the person next to you puts on the goggles, just like we had earlier, immerses you right inside the view of the camera. So now you can turn left, and you can turn right, you can look up and down, and it's going to adjust the camera on the drone to what you want to look at, right? Structural analysis, I'm just a pilot, I don't know anything about structural analysis. I just fly over there, and the engineer could actually look at that and see what they want to look at, right? They could focus on this area without even knowing anything about the UAVs. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see how these change and workflows come out with these, where you can take orders now, but like every new technology, they're back ordered a little bit. Cool stuff coming. I told, we're talking at the office, I'm just going to open like an Apple store. There's going to be a DJI store soon. You're just going to go in, fly drones, cameras, look at all this cool stuff. Any of the DJI drones that you purchase, and a lot of UAVs have some of the same things. We talked about the GPS, hover in one place. A lot of the things, we won't go through all of these. What I really like is there's auto takeoff, auto landing. So literally we go out, we map autonomous flight. You hit start, it automatically takes off from a Google map, off the ground, flies autonomously until the battery goes low, automatically comes down, take the battery out, put another battery in, say resume, goes back up and does it again. It automatically lands within 10 feet from where it took off as well, right? It's crazy what they're doing. The auto takeoff is fun and landing for some people, but it takes all the fun out of it, especially with an Inspire. You have to land it yourself. That's part of flying, right? We have to have a little fun while we're out there. Return home, if they lose their connection, they come back home. But it's also cool that you can update it to come back to the controller. So if you're walking with the drone, it won't go 2 miles back from where you started. You can update that home position. It would stop at the end of the project and come back to you if it got low on batteries or you weren't paying attention. One of our favorites, or a fun one, I wish Tyler was here today because of the way we tested it. We put him out in the parking lot. There's a new feature that says follow me. So you take the drone and you say follow this object. And we said run, and he thought we were joking. he took off running. The drone and the camera focuses on that object that's moving, and it literally followed him through the parking lot. So it's, I'm just glad I'm growing up these days. I can't be back in my younger days. There's too many ways the cops could follow me now, right? The emergency and rescue, you can't get away from anybody these days, especially a thermal camera. Now they're going to follow me with thermal, with a UAV. So a lot of different things. I think we mentioned most of them. I thought this was one of the most intriguing too. I haven't tested this yet. I don't know if I will ever test it. I guess before we talk about this one is there's object avoidance. So if I want to try and fly it right into a building now, it will literally stop 10 feet away from it. We have tested this. It took us a little while. We did it kind of slowly, but it will work. It also works if you're flying in the 100 feet in the air and you're just slamming it down as fast as you can. It will automatically stop the UAV for a safe landing. It won't let you crash without the landing gear coming down, which is kind of cool. But the best part about this is we used to fly behind a building. Let's say you're always supposed to keep eyes on your UAV, but if you were behind a building and you lost connection or you hit return home, they weren't very smart. They come straight home. So it actually hit that building, right? We had one, as one of the first ones I delivered. We flew it, and then the client got the battery, put a new battery in it. It was the only one I didn't really fully charge. We're walking around the building, all of a sudden the drone's moving. He goes, Chad, that's not me. That's not me. I'm not this bad. And I look, and the battery's low. And next thing we know, it's trying to return home. And it gets to the top of a roof, and it just lands on the roof. And it goes up again and tries to land and stops. So we had to get a ladder out to get the UAV back, right? So they're smarter now. And when they come home, they're smart enough to detect objects up to 200 meters away and fly back safely. I think that's remarkable for what they can do. Again, it'll be a fun. Maybe we'll record it and put that on YouTube for you guys to see if it works out for us the first time, right? Or does anybody have a drone we can borrow to test that first? So a couple things I want to talk about. As soon as you buy your UAV, the first thing you typically do is you just check out the camera, the video. When you talk to people, hey, what are you doing with your UAV? There's different types. There's mapping, there's inspection, but then there's other ones just using it for photographs, marketing, and video, right? A little bit different. Kind of separates the two a little bit. Although we have done some really cool things with video, and we'll talk about how you can use it. Thermal imaging, like we said, we'll go in the Inspire 1 or the M200. We were lucky enough to put it on ours as well. We actually did some roof inspections. I just didn't have time to load all that in there, but we will get to that. Or if you need to see it, we can show it to you. We're hoping to do some really cool projects or test projects in the future. This was just out at our office, and just for fun, we want to see what it would look like, and you can see some of the buildings. The biggest problem is the resolution is only 640 by 480, so we're seeing if we can make point clouds from it and what you can get from it. So this was during the day, so you don't get much. It is kind of cool. I thought I had the highway or 75 in here, and you actually see the cars driving, and you can see the heat from the cars. I'm not over 75, it just looks that way. The 75 turns, but it's kind of neat. So if you get a chance, or you want to see more on that, let us know for sure. And then I'd love showing drone racing, but I talked too much yesterday, so I wanted to minimize this a little bit. Has everybody seen drone racing videos yet? A few of you? One of the best things you can do this evening on your way home, if you're a passenger, take a look at drone racing on YouTube. They're literally looking at the eyes of the camera, and they're flying very fast. They're little 2x2 boxes in arenas. I definitely wanted to do that. I literally wanted to go. We turned the car around because I was afraid I'd have a new hobby, and I don't need another hobby, right? It just gets addicting to have that much fun. Also, downtown Detroit, they're going through abandoned buildings. So if you look hard enough for some YouTube things, you'll find them. We're going to try and gather all these videos and put them on our channel and just kind of send you there in the future and see the best ones. I think the fishing one is very cool too. I think it's Florida. These guys are out on the beach, and they tie the bait to the drone, and then they fly out as far as they can. It's like a fish finder, right, with their camera. And they look down, they see all this tuna, and then they hit the button, it latches it, drops it, and then you see it eat the tuna, and then they just bring it in. Right, it's remarkable. I don't think it's legal. I'm not condoning it, but it was cool. One of the other really cool ones that I saw was someone was actually fishing, and the guy got mad because the drone was bothering the fisherman, so he casted it out, and he actually caught the Phantom, and they were arguing. They're going back and forth with it, so that was up there too. You can go all day with the videos up there and what people have done with the drones. I remember one headbutted a goat. I mean, it's just incredible. Thermal camera saving turtles. It just goes on and on. It's pretty neat. So this, when you talk about extreme videos, you could look all day and see if you could find the most extreme video, but I had to find an extreme video that related to mapping and inspection as well. not just a dirt bike or some mountain climbing. So I was actually flying a communication tower with a client and kind of showing them how to use a UAV to do this. So this is my extreme video. If you look real close at the hawk, slowed it down just so you don't miss it. So if anybody asks you, is drone inspections any good, you can say it's the poop. Right? So we'll play it one more time just for fun. The best part about this whole story, we didn't know it. When we walked up there, we saw the hawks. We knew there could be an issue. So as we got, makes me laugh every time. So when you get up there, I don't know if we're going to be able to fly it. There was actually 2 hawks. And as the drone gets up there, you could see the hawks kind of watching it and circling it. You know, from, I don't know, 350 feet down, you can't quite adjust or see the elevations. So when you're flying the drone, the hawk was literally starting over here, and it would go right at it. So my only choice was I had a flight to catch. We had to get it done. So I would just give as much gas as I could to go up, and I was just hoping it was missing it. But I tried it 3 different times. I wish I would have turned the camera right at it to see what it was really doing. Luckily, it didn't affect it in any way. It actually sat back down there, and we were able to finish it up. The best part was I get to the airport, I see the hawk, I take a small clip, I send it to the client. I said, hey, look at this. This is incredible. That's pretty neat. He goes, Chad, that's not funny. I was the one on the ground doing all the mapping and the groundwork, and I thought it was just bad weather. It started raining. Now I know it wasn't raining. I couldn't believe he admitted that, but it made the day. That was pretty funny. So our other extreme video here real quick is the Cadillac, the book tower in Detroit. I don't know if everybody knows about this building in the past. Dan Gilbert actually bought this. And if you think about it, and the more we learned about this building, New York City is doing mandates. I think Cleveland, Ohio are doing mandates that they have to inspect the buildings. I believe it's like every 10 years or 15 years that you have to do this. So how are you going to inspect these buildings? And think about if you want to get insurance on a building you bought. What's the condition of the building? If you have a big storm, who's going to pay for that if there's damage? Was that existing damage or wasn't that existing damage? Especially when you talk about these kind of prices to purchase something like that. So after we flew it, and I came home, I told Michelle, my wife, all about it, and she found this article, and we thought that was pretty neat too, where people in Detroit are actually going for, I don't know if it says cheap date or impressive romantic date. There's no elevators. The building's abandoned. They're walking up 38 flights of stairs to eat dinner, to have a picnic. I think I'd make it 10. Take me a week to get to the top, right? And I just want to know what date is actually happy with that to do that much work. But that was pretty funny. So to give you a better perspective how big this building really is, I thought that was a good picture for it. And this kind of puts it in perspective a little bit. So this was a couple years ago already. This was actually, I did the Fisher building, so this was the second one we ever did. We did the dual controllers. But you have to remember when we did this, we didn't have object avoidance. So I couldn't just go sit there 10 feet in front of it. It was just on your own. So if you hit the building, you're going to hit the building. I love how you look at the statues as well and the condition of them. And this is easy for an insurance company to go back and take a look at this. You can extract every photo from the image, and then you could zoom in on every one of these photos as well to get much more quality if it's needed. And I still can't believe the amount of detail that they put at the top of these buildings. Right? Who can see that from the ground? Right? So unless there's another skyscraper, you wouldn't even see this. We get up there, you start seeing the graffiti, so people are up there. They're going all the way up to that penthouse. I believe this is a working penthouse now, from what I heard, or it was for sale at this point for the top of that. But it's pretty incredible. So think about if you're going to do facade inspections, you have to do scaffolding, right? So what we heard is they started doing scaffolding on this building. At the end of every day, they start the next morning. You had to check your gear. You had to walk up all 38 flights of stairs to start your day. So imagine tomorrow when you go into work, you think you're having a bad day. Think about what those guys had to do, right? So some nice clips of Detroit real quick. While we're up there, why not spin it around? The winds weren't too bad, so it was kind of cool. You see Ford Field, Tiger Stadium as well. There's GM. I think we already see it. Just hoping to catch some of the stadiums for you guys. Oh, well. I didn't realize I had sound here real quick. Sounds like a bee, a very big bee, right? So this was a park in Wyoming, a state park we got permission to fly. The real project and why we're really there is the Pro Scan, that they were actually pushing this cart and capturing it like mobile mapping. And they just had to get the limits of all the asphalt and the gravel. And while we were there, we just thought One, I got to fly a drone legally at the time with permission, so we couldn't turn that down. And it just validates it for the client that they got all the picnic tables and the information was there. So I forgot to show you when we started, it was no wind at all. 2 miles later, you can see the storm came in very quickly. There's actually white caps in the water now. I was still back in the days of the Phantom 2. Notice the wind over there on the right. All we have to do is get to the back here, and we're done. So we're like, let's keep going, just keep going. Well, how do you do 2.5 miles where you have to keep eyes on it all the time? So I had one person drive the truck, and I sat as a passenger and flew the drone while we were in the vehicle. The wind was so strong. Look at your bottom left. The Phantom wouldn't go anymore. It just stopped. So I got out, and it's easier to navigate from behind a drone. Made the mistake of trying to turn it. The wind caught it. Luckily, it was above the tree. So if it's windy, just come straight down so you guys know. You're right, don't make that mistake. I got off easily on that one. So my in-laws live in Bad Axe, Michigan, so while we're up there, why not? We got to have a little bit of fun, right? Unfortunately, Michelle was with me, so I didn't get to actually run through them or actually do the putt-putt. And it's private property, so she made me park over 400 feet away. So if you see here, from a GoPro perspective, you'll see how far away we were and still able to get incredible data on these wind turbines. So there we are way back there at the point, right? And we're standing at that location as well. But that was a good experience. I still have a goal of doing wind turbine putt-putt. But I heard it's not the drone you got to worry about. If you chipped one of those blades, someone told me how much they were at one time. It's insane. So just cell tower inspection. You kind of saw we did that earlier. Very easy to do. I'll skip through here to see if there's any other ones. Stockpiles, we'll talk about a little bit later on. Very simple to fly over. Just kind of notice the mobile is there. Actually, I was with a person there that's in here. There we go. Did the Mackinaw Bridge. Probably wasn't the smartest things I did a while back when I first got it, but legally, as long as you weren't flying commercially, you could fly in certain areas. So it's all the way in the UP, and on the way back, I was getting tired. I was just bored. So I got it out, and I'm like, I'm going to fly the bridge. I'm going to at least fly to the first abutment, right? Then I started thinking, isn't the Port Authority like right over here? And then what if it goes down and it's iced over? I'm not going to go get it. But it made for a nice little video. So, bridge inspections, it would work out great. You got to get much closer, and we recommend a different drone for underneath there as well. So the last extreme video to kind of talk about a little bit, we talked about the Ricoh Theta. Paige, do we have that little 360 camera in the back, or is it in the drone case maybe? I don't think I saw it. If anybody wants to see it, this is the camera for under $400. It's this tall. It records video and takes 360-degree photos. So we just took the time to have a little bit of fun and put it underneath the drone. We used Velcro. That was it. All right, we did a little zip tie too, just to be safe. So this isn't the actual drone camera, right? We're looking at the drone camera and still capturing the information from this one, but this is the camera underneath, the Theta 360. What's unique about this, if I pull it up on my phone right now, I can literally move my phone around or my iPad around, and you can see 360 degrees. So now, if you publish it to YouTube, you can still do that on your desktop, which is just remarkable to me. So even if you don't have a drone, if you're doing a scanning project, you just want to kind of capture everything to find out what it is, you can do that. And the cost to me is nothing compared to what we're getting out of that data. So my son just turned 2 last week. So at the birthday party, we set one of these right in the middle of the table. And instead of just seeing his face when you blew out the candles or sung happy birthday, you could spin it around 360, show him everybody that's at the party, and kind of enjoy it. And it's just a lot better environment, so especially for that cost. So that was pretty neat to do. I can't remember. I think we went around and just did this whole facade on this one. We have other videos we just mapped with it to kind of show everybody autonomous flights as well. This one was kind of cool. So from that location, I just want people kind of thinking mapping and inspections. You can also do streetscapes. So typically this would be maybe a scanning project, but if it's just conceptual data, this is the one we did in 10 minutes. That entire parking lot, 32 mile an hour, a nice sunny day, and then I flew the face of this building. So this is all drone data, right? No laser scan data this time. Now I'm making it look good here, right? It looks perfect. Why would anybody ever use a scanner? There's a big difference. So when you zoom in, that's where you're going to see the big difference on this. let's see if I got this one. So from here, I mean, it is truly remarkable for conceptual or renovations or stakeholder buy-in. This is all from the 20 megapixel camera, right? Curves. So if there's pieces missing, that just means when I turned it, I didn't turn and get enough photos on that actual face. I kind of did more straight on and then tilt and turned it a little bit as we went. You can see it didn't do quite a good job on the glass. But overall, depending on what you're going to use it for, maybe you're going to renovate a streetscape, it's an incredible place to start to bring this into different softwares to help you do that. So the big difference is it looks incredible. Scan data, you can pretty much zoom in forever and it still looks incredible. As we go in here, you'll start to see this is getting rounded, and it's just not quite the same level when you look at the detail there. See how it's getting a little bit curvy, right? So typically not engineering grade, but depends what you're going to do with it. So more conceptual, more visual information, and you can see it's a little more rounded the farther back you go in the different locations. But still, for photogrammetry and how quickly you can do that, I think it shows a good picture. While we're here, I'm going to show one other quick parking lot to give you an idea how quickly we can capture information. I think one of the clients that we did this for is also in here. But this is, I don't even think this is less than a 10-minute flight. We were out there, it was such a simple flight, we actually flew it both directions. So kind of longitude, latitude, or kind of crisscross. So you do it this way, and then you go perpendicular to that flight, and then you just take the photos off the drone, drag and drop it to your software. It automatically puts it together, spits back a point cloud. Okay? Sounds easy. I don't know why we have weeks and hours, weeks and months in trying to figure out these workflows, which ones are the best. But if you just did this, you'd probably be within a half a foot in the real world where it's going to drop it in from the GPS on the drone, which is pretty good for certain things, if that's all you need. Otherwise, what you want to do is, hopefully most of you guys saw in the back that we have targets back there. So now if we have a known control point right there, in the image we zoom in, we mark that control point, put in the northern, easting, the elevation on a minimum of 4, preferably probably at least 6. Now it's going to come back. You're probably going to be within a couple tenths. It's going to drop in right in the real world as a point cloud that you can extract data from. With that said, just like we talked about with the scanning, you have to inspect the data. You have to review the data because if you don't put the control out properly, we've seen up to a foot of error in certain areas. Okay? But again, this is depending on how you fly it, how close you get to it. I mean, it looks pretty decent, right? So if you do straight down nadir photos, depending if the photo is taken here, you're going to get this face. If the photo was taken on top, you're going to miss part of it. See if I can find a place that it probably missed it. There you go on the back side. So we flew it this way, and you can see it didn't fill that in. So if you want any elevations, any walls, you have to put the camera, instead of straight down, put it right on the wall, and then fly it that direction to give you some ideas. We've got some other ones if you guys want to come back to it as well. So video is pretty easy. Hopefully some ideas there where you can use it. Typically, you might just want to take photos. I think every surveyor, I think they should already have a drone in every single truck, especially if you take the amount of equipment that's in there and the expense that's already there, just for validation, right? Just go out there and just tag everything that you think is different. So handicap stalls, catch basin, manholes. It just eliminates the communication gap that you might have as a surveyor and engineer to say, hey, was this, where was the entrance? What type of curve was it? You have it all documented, and it's super easy to do. Literally pop it out, fly it in 10 minutes, put it back in the truck, move on. Right? You have updated Google Earth images with no arguments or anything to discuss. The other one I forgot to mention with video, we're seeing the most common use for is if you do construction. So if you tear out a roadway and then they put it back, the owner's always saying that driveway was way better than it is now. I want you to fix it, or you owe me money, or redo it. And you just go back to the video right in front of them and say, let's look at your driveway. Wow, that looks way better than it used to, right? I think you owe us money. And they're going to walk away. As soon as you say you have it on video, they're gone. Again, it takes 10 minutes to fly a waypoint from one point to the other point along a roadway, right? However you want to do it, if you want to walk it or, drive it, different ways. So how to use it in construction, I won't get into a whole lot. I think it's pretty common. Validation, same thing. Maybe you just want progress of, weekly meetings for the project. Where are we? Where should we be? Is it on schedule? Are the materials on the site? Just different things. I like the idea, instead of using a PDF, you could load the actual DWG over top of the updated photos to make sure everything is still planned and adjust it accordingly as we do that. If they want point clouds, you could do that as well. If you buy a drone, the easiest place to start is to get volumes. Every time I show somebody how to fly over a pile and you get that dirt pile, they're always amazed how clear and how cool it comes back and how accurate it is. So if you, nothing else, you just want to get into it for that reason, you can. And that's one of the easier things to do rather than extracting the data for the parking lots. So now to talk about autonomous flight. We did the video. We know how to take the drone and snap photos. This is just as easy, maybe even easier, if someone shows you how to do it. So in this case, we recommend, I think the app might be $20 now. I thought we paid $10. I think it's $20. It's Maps Made Easy. There's other ones out there, Pix4D. There's Drone Deploy. Autodesk had one that just came out that they're recommending. The Site Scan, I think, is what they were using. But Site Scan, I think, is around $4,000 or $7,000 a year. This is $20. This is kind of doing the same thing. DJI just came out with their own app as well to help you fly a site. So as you can see, it auto takes off, starts taking photos. Paige, did you happen to get that iPad with Maps, with DJI 4 and Maps Made Easy or no? Let's try it real quick. We'll try it just for a second. I don't want to keep switching this around. And what happens if I go to the iPad, I have to mirror it to my desktop because we don't have enough cables where I need a splitter. So let's see if this works real quick. Cool. Nope, we'll try it real quick. Meaning real quick, it might take a minute here. We'll try it. The only problem we might have, I don't think we did the DJI 4 account on this one, did we? Let's just skip it so we know. We'll show you on the little iPad. Just so you know how easy it is. When we go outside, you'll get to see it too. I just thought that'd be a bigger screen so you could see it a little bit easier. But let's just boot this up real quick and show you. We can pass it around if anybody wants to see it. Oops. So we just connect them. Everybody's watching, so you know it's not going to work. I'll forget something. Let's see, I got it plugged in. Step one, we're good. Yeah. There we go. So we'll give that a second. That's how easy it is. You literally pull it out of your car, pull it out of the case. If anybody wants to see the case, it's not as big as this one, but it's a pretty big case. And the idea with the case, it just keeps everything with it. If you have two iPads, the camera, you don't have to take anything off. You don't have to put it in landing mode. It literally goes into landing mode in different cases it comes in. So it's just easy to move around and to work with. The reason I was moving that, I don't know if anybody can tell yet. You won't see it yet. You guys are on TV. Instead of me up here, I got all you guys. Yeah. Can you see it? Right? And then with the controller, you can move the camera up and down. It's kind of cool. Who just flipped me off? So that's kind of neat. And then that's going to connect. So I just hit enter in there, and it comes up. Typically, this would say you have GPS connection, and it would have a lock on it, and you're good to go. So there'll be a green light on the back, and you're ready to fly with it. But we don't have GPS, so it's going to give me that error. So we're going to try it. I'm not sure if it will still locate us in the building without the GPS. But the next thing I'm going to do is hit Maps Made Easy app. I believe, again, it's $20. Create a new mission. We're going to do the same thing outside, but there might be a few of us, so I think it's just easier if we do it here real quick. So I am connected. Shoot. Anybody remember what I forgot? I forgot we need wireless. So let's see if we can get the map to come up real quick. If not, we'll move on and show you in here differently. But Wi-Fi, personal hotspot. All right, let's make sure this is on there. Oops. Settings. Okay, should be good. So the only thing with the iPad plan, I guess, might take a little bit longer to actually see this come in. So we might move on and just come back to it to see if it finds a GPS location. That's pretty, was quick. Did you guys, there we go. Very cool, right? I guess you guys can't see it. I'm used to you guys being able to see what I'm doing up here because we're going to mirror it was the plan. But everybody can see it automatically located where we are, right? So now we can just kind of zoom in and out. And it's a live map. Okay. So again, I guess I should have mirrored it, would have been a little bit better. We'll go back in this corner to kind of help you guys out. And let's just say we want to go out here and fly some areas. And just like that, it automatically is going to calculate our area that we're at. I don't think it's going to give me the flight path that I wanted though, because we're indoors. And then over here, you just tell it how high you want to be. So 197 feet, you can move it to 300 feet. And what we're missing, which is actually the best part in here, is it will do the lawnmower patterns for you. So it will tell you at 200 feet how far apart it's going to be. And if you have a large site, it will automatically calculate where the battery change is going to take place. So it's a real dark white, changes to a gray. That's your recommendation. It will either come back automatically or say it's going to pass you, just bring it straight down, swap out the battery, then tell it to start again. I was hoping to at least simulate this for you guys. You get to watch the little UAV go around. Let's see if it lets me do simulate on. So what we need to do is just tell it where the drone is, and I was hoping it would locate the little purple dot, but it's probably because we're indoors is my best guess. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but it's pretty neat, and then it would show that. You adjust it, and it shows you the time, the amount of acres and everything that's here. And because it's not quite connected, I just tell it up here to upload the mission and then hit start, and it takes off. Okay, so we'll do that when we go outside as well. Just if anybody's not sticking around, I want to make sure you kind of saw how easy that was. I'm going to shut these down so we have batteries for later on when we go outside. There you go. Anybody think it was going to be that easy? Right, there's not much to it. That's it, right? Wait, why do we have training classes? Just kidding. There's always things that go wrong, right? I think we were out there the other day, and I hooked it up, and I had a bad iPhone cable, so it wouldn't connect. They went 10 minutes trying to figure that out. So you still need to troubleshoot when things, don't go well. So this is a project. It's probably one of the better ones that we've done. It kind of sums up everything with UAVs and an idea of what you want to be able to do with them in the future very quickly here. So the big thing before I started this, I want everybody to focus. This was the goal. They want to be able to find fiber optic cable in that level of detail. They actually want to see the casing and take a look at the wear and tear on the casing. So General Motors decided to fly, I believe, 31 of their sites across the country. They use LiDAR data from a helicopter at 500 feet. So this is the data in Jetstream that we're flying over. It looks good. The best part about what they did here was they got this data in front of the facility managers, right? The maintenance, the plant managers. And by doing that, they wanted more information. Hey, this is great. I want this. I want more. I want a higher level of detail on all this. It's incredible. So we propose that you go out and you fly the drone over your site. You put out your control, your targets like we talked about. We'll talk about targets in a little bit after this as well. Again, more than 4. I'm just showing that because I'm lazy and it took me that long to put the X's there. I love the autonomous flight. It's going to do the same thing outside, like watching paint dry. It's kind of cool. As it flies autonomously, it's taking all the photos. It calculates the photo, calculates the overlap. The green and the blue is where the actual drone was, where the software corrected it to be. Remember, it's always going to be within 10 feet. So we take all these photos into the cloud. We take all the metadata from all these photos, and we're going to use it here in a little bit. And that's how we make the deliverable a little bit more appealing to the client. So in this case, we open up Civil 3D. We have a Bing map. And the first thing that you can propose is we just want to give you an updated geotiff image, and you drop it in right over top of it. Right? So maybe that's all they need. I don't know if everybody's familiar with the geotiff image, so we're going to go in here and just show you that it's a 2D TIFF. Right? A lot of times, these facilities, all they want to do is trace the existing details in 2D. They just need to have a plan and metrics of that roof, right? Simple. Imagine going up there and doing GPS to get every one of those measurements. Imagine a tape measure, right? Robotic total station. Wait till you see the buildings we did that we show after this. And that was the 3D point cloud that came back from it. Hopefully you guys saw that a little bit there. So what we did is we brought in all the photos where they were taken at the right location. And now these yellow dots were the autonomous flight over the whole building. Okay? So they didn't really need that. This is what they really wanted, 3.5 miles of the cable tray. If fiber optic cable tray example, I guess. So what we did is the exact same steps. We flew the drone only 30 feet over the pipe instead of 300 feet over the building, so we get a better level of detail. You can fly it autonomously from one point to the next. You can set up a way to do all of the mapping if you want to autonomously. As we brought in all the images for the metadata, we linked it to a PDF because at this point, to us, we didn't want the client to have any software, right? We don't want any plugins, just PDF. Everybody's used to it, everybody can do it. They wanted it, of course, it wasn't good enough. They wanted it in their existing infrastructure with all their point clouds and laser scan data, which is the TrueView Global that we talked about before. So we were able to do that as well. So now we're actually in TrueView. So the maintenance, the plant managers don't know any different. They click in a TrueView, open it up, and zoom it in on the photo. So you can see we just tagged different locations for them. We did this manually. We went to Leica and showed them what we wanted to do. The next release is supposed to be May 1st, so let's say May 30th, maybe June 1st. They incorporated that you'll be able to bring in the metadata automatically for every photo location to make a geotag. So you can click each image like we did with the PDF. So it's really cool what's going to be coming. But think about that. You zoomed in, you found a problem, you marked it up, right? So now give it to the maintenance. They're going to go back and fix that little area. LiDAR data, the geotiff. Everybody's like, why didn't you just give them a geotiff? That should have been good enough, right? It was blurry. That's just 30 feet above with our photo. So there's kind of your comparison. But watch, you can zoom in, from 30 feet with that image, and that's the quality that we're able to get, right? Now let's go survey this one. That's a big project. If you got to go out there with GPS, laser scanning, mobile mapping, right? That's going to be hard to capture a lot of that data to start engineering off of it. And maybe you just start conceptually with a visual inspection with the UAV, and then at least the engineers can kind of focus on what they really need and the level of detail they need, and then you can go out and scan certain areas of it instead of the whole building. So I thought that was a good use case, a way of getting companies into new technology, give them a little bit like they did with the LiDAR, and then they just wanted more and more and more, which I thought was pretty cool. All right, so the targets that we use, hopefully in the back you took a look at some of them. You can use a $3 vinyl peel off that you might have in your kitchen floor, right? You just stick them down on the ground. They're pretty cheap. We cut a little hole in them, and then you put it over your PK nail. They will work. It's a little windy. They're going to blow around a little bit. If someone drives over, you can see the creases. So they're better if you're not going to go back and get them or something, or they're not real important to you. That's kind of the cheapest way to get away with them. Or there's paper ones too. You can just print out, like laser scanning as well. But they have to have some weight to them. So you'll see these. There's also in the back. And I brought that one in particular because you can see someone drove over it, and you actually see the tire track on it. So no matter what you do, unless you put cones everywhere or a sharp object so they don't do it, some yellow tape, they always get ran over. But these were real nice. They got the vinyl in them, so just enough, heavy enough that they won't blow away. And if they do blow away, you might want to look at your wind speeds for flying. To correct for that, so you could get away with it, you can put 5/8 rebar. If you flip it upside down and slide those in there, and it would weigh it down to make sure there was no issues with it. These, you're talking around $40 a piece, $3, $40, and now these are remarkable. If you're a surveyor, they're probably not the great fit. You already have all the equipment you need to go out there and find a GPS or real-world coordinate. If you don't, or you have a drone division that doesn't want to buy the equipment, these targets are available, but there are 10 of them for $6,000. Well, you send them out across the site, a minimum of 4. So typically use 5 in case you set it in the wrong spot and you couldn't get GPS solution. But it does an opus solution between each of the targets. And we were just getting them and we were going to send them back. There's no way they can be that accurate, right? They can't be that good. We put it over a local surveyor's information that we have at the office, and it came back perfect. It was in hundreds, X and Y. Vertically, I believe it was 2/10 off. But the guys took the measurement from the top of this, and it's that thick. So once we eliminated that thickness, they were spot on, and we just couldn't believe it. So we kept them, and now we want to, we resell them. So if anybody needs them, we also rent them if you want to go out to a job site and fly it with these. The other one we started thinking about, if you have a BLK 360, right, you could set these out on different ends of a project, and then you could scan and use those as your targets. And then when you register it together, put in those known coordinates, and you would have your BLK data on real-world coordinates, which is kind of cool, right? And it would also give you an idea of what's going on with your scan data, make sure it wasn't tilted or your floor wasn't way off, right? The other thing with the The targets, you can see they're waterproof. I don't even think we asked. We just took them out. We wanted to get it done right away, but they're still working as well. You simply turn them on in the order that you walk around, and then you collect them in the opposite direction. They are supposed to be out there an hour. We've done some in a half hour and still got good data out of them, but they do have to kind of do that solution and get the correct calculations. So it's up to you. Some sites you don't need to be there an hour, but by the time you talk, set these out there. It seems to work really well. You walk up with your phone with the app. Before you turn it off, it records the value of where it is. It sends it to the internet, the cloud, and then it comes back and sends you an email with the exact coordinates of the locations. So just again, kind of thinking about the facade inspections and how we do all this traditionally, right? You put a boom truck up there. GM, that site with the fiber optic cables, we told them how much money we thought it would save them, right? We was like, this is remarkable. How many drones do you want to buy? They didn't even care about the money. It was safety. They don't want the inspections, anybody walking on cable trays. They don't want the people up on the boom trucks. It was more about safety, and you can't put a cost of safety was their thought and why they want to keep moving forward with the UAVs. Again, just some examples. Imagine that book tower and kind of going down with this, 38 stories. It's not going to be safe, right? So that's something else you're eliminating. I understand that, maybe you have to knock on the brick or the facade to see the condition of it. Ours is visual, but maybe we can narrow down to where we feel you have to go do that actual hard inspection and not do the entire building like you might see in some of these other ones. So here's kind of what we talked about. With the book tower, it was all video. It was a great idea. We were just happy to be able to complete it and get it done. Extracted the photos every so many frames. But at that point, what do you have at that point from all these photos? You have a stack of photos in Windows Explorer. Basically, they're scrambled everywhere when the client says, this is photo one, what the heck does it go to, right? How do I put this and relate it? So somebody had to go in there in that deliverable and say, I'm going to make a legend, here's photo one, it's this corner, here's photo two, here's photo three, and make hyperlinks, right? And they manually had to do that with each one. User error, right? They're not going to get every photo right. They get tired, they get bored, they don't double check it. So what we wanted to do is fly the drone and then link each of the correct photos in the exact location it is automatically. So just like we did for the roof inspection, right? We brought in the metadata on top of it, and they could click it and just look at the data instantly. So we figured out the same way flying the facade vertically would do this. During our attempts and what we were trying to do to make this work, we were super excited with this one. Anywhere that you flew the drone and took a photo, you hover over the drone location and you can look at the photo. We were so excited. This is great. We're rolling over in the back of our chairs. We're done. Everybody wants this one. The problem is you can't zoom in on that photo. And so there's actually the plant building, the Fisher Body plant. Has anybody seen that down 75? They actually finally painted this building. It's actually all painted white. I don't know if that's going to start fixing it up after all these years. If you're coming up north, you probably saw it. Going back south, you'll probably miss it. That's 3D point cloud created, I think the Inspire 1 that we did just for some sample data. So the other problem was, in order to do this, you had to have a plug-in software. So now everybody that we delivered this to couldn't do anything with it unless they bought this tool. So we had to figure out a better way of doing it, and that's where we started flying it and then taking each of the metadata and putting it into a PDF, which worked a little bit better. But at the end of the day, the TrueView solution works out the best. So we had an opportunity to help a company fly Goodyear's headquarters. And this is a clock tower that we went and tested out. This is the Osmo, so you'll notice it's nice and smooth video taken off. It's not real jerky or anything. This was the building, so we kind of flew up there. I forget the elevation. I think it comes up and tells us 165 feet or maybe 265. I can't remember. 165 feet above the ground is all. So same idea. We just went up. I think we did some quick video just to kind of capture the site for the client. We went all the way around. And then the idea and the goal is to go back and fly it autonomously straight down, take the photos along it or at points of interest, to have it go around like we did for the country club, and then bring the data back in. So as you see here, this is kind of a video, and now we converted it, and there's the point cloud data all from the drone that we were able to capture. In this case, we got a little bit lazy. You saw the white noise along there. You open that up in Recap or Cyclone, quickly clean that up, and that would go away. Depending on what platform you use to create the point clouds from the drone, the noise can be a lot more than others, but that was all UAV data, and we brought into TrueView, and the same idea. This was just a concept. I really just want to fly a clock tower. So it's not a completed project, but it gives you a really good idea how each image tagged in a vertical aspect instead of a roof can be used. And there's some really good points here as you zoom in on the brick. I think we're approximately 30 feet away, so I believe they're going to get this project, and now they want to fly it using the object avoidance at 10 feet away to get even more clarity. So again, you can mark it up, you can send it to anybody with TrueView Global. Any client can open it up on their phone or their iPad if you put it into the leg of TrueView Global to share it. So you don't have to send them any files. You don't have to send them 2 gigs of photos. You don't have to make sure the hyperlinks work. And it seemed to come together real well for them. And then back to, not everybody has to make 3D deliverables, facade inspections, roof inspections. There's some opportunities to do that. We had the Revit model for the renovation on the country club, but you could do something a little bit more simple. Just go out, map it, and do 2D planometrics, right? Not everything has to be 3D. 2D documentation is still very popular. You just go on top either the geotiff, like we talked about with the roof, or you go into the point cloud and you simply trace it. You can do it with Recap and Civil 3D. You do the same thing in Revit if you want to draw the walls or the buildings. If you want to find the top of curbs or highest, lowest points, you're typically going to use a program called CloudWorks that we talked about earlier. Also for topographical maps, can you make a surface from scan data or from drone data? I constantly get phone calls or people complaining, I just scan the site and the data is worthless. I can't even get a tin out of it. I can't get good contours out of it. Well, the problem is you scanned, every 1/10 of a foot, 2/10 of a foot, right, for 100 acres. So when you build a surface from that, does everybody know in Civil 3D, if you click a point cloud, it will automatically connect and build a surface from all those points? Okay. The default is, I think, 2/10, and it will triangulate between 2/10, right? So if there's a crack in the pavement, your contour is going to try and follow that, right? So what happens is the contours look horrible. They're too ziggy-zaggy, right? I want to smooth them out. In that setting, just change that setting to 25 feet. How would you do it manually if you're out there with GPS or driving a four-wheeler with GPS, right? You'd be probably every 50 feet on a grid, every 100 feet. So type in 10 feet, maybe 25 feet. And if you do the spacing accordingly, then build the surface, the contours look just like any other typical application, however you did the data. Okay, so there's always a few tricks or things out there that can help you get the data. If you're using CloudWorks, you can also go to CloudWorks and say insert points on top of my point cloud, a grid of 25 feet by 25 feet, and build the surface from those points. Okay? You still got to go back if you want one that's a very nice tin and get break lines. We got to trace the top of curb, the gutter lines, anywhere there's a major, can't think of the term I'm looking for, but any major grade break, right? You still have to do that. Piles of dirt, rivers, banks, top of bank, to get a good surface out of it. But you combine that with the point cloud or the points you included, and it should come out real nice. So this is, we could do a little better on this video. I wanted to show that we are doing this, that you can do this. I get a lot of questions. Can we tie scan data together and drone data? You saw the country club did that a little bit. This is a little bit higher profile project. I guess there's some more things going on, so I kind of blocked out the name here. This is a 400,000 square foot building. They went all the way around the outside of it and they scanned it. So you can see we'll have 2 different colors here. That's the drone data that we were able to capture on the roof. The rest of it was the scan data going around. So all we did was set control points out on the site. And as you set the control on the site, the person with the laser scanner has to tie in the same control that we hit with the drone data. Right? So as long as you do that, they're going to tie together. If I just go out with the drone and I fly it with no control, no RTK on here, I'm going to be about a half a foot off. Okay, that's why the country club is off a little bit. We didn't have any type of GPS survey control. We didn't have the cool targets back there. But if you tie in using ground control, you should get approximately 2/10 to their scan data. So what we did is just threw it into a program, separated the two here, so the red and the blue, so we knew which one was which. And then we just cut sections in here to give you an idea. So you can see a little bit on the roof there was a hair, a little bit difference, but there's your ground data. It's kind of a small inspection to give you an idea. So it's really hard to tell, but what you would notice if you looked real close, the scan data is a perfectly straight line, and the drone data has a little bit of a wave to it. Okay, it's hard to tell here because of the black background, so don't think they're the same thing. If the scanner can't get on the roof, the drone is a better way or a way to fill in those shadows or that data, but it's not engineering grade, right? It's just to help you kind of fill a model to make it look a little bit better. So here's another one that we did. This was the country club. So you can take any 2 point clouds and do cloud compare. It's a free program and take a look at the differences. Remember, we did the drone without survey control. Okay, so you're going to see a 1/2 foot difference in here. Most of it in here, so if you look at the graph, in this case, I think the red is the one that's the least accurate right now. Whenever you fly a drone, always go outside the limits of the project, because if you get the horizon in there, it kind of rolls up the ends of it. It doesn't have anything to match to. So you notice most of the red is going to be around the outside, or the red is anywhere we had a shadow and the scanner couldn't see those locations. That's a great way to make sure that the data is good. Notice the swimming pool is red. There's no data to compare in there because the scanner didn't pick that up. You see the top of the roof right here is red. There's another roof where there was red here, just because there was no scan data in those areas. So if we take a look again, we typically points were within a 1/2 foot of each other. So you can see the blues where the focus was much better, typically 2/10, and the farthest out was a 1/2 foot. Just to give you some ideas. Cool. I was going to go outside and fly here. We just got a couple more I want to wrap up. So if anybody wants to go outside, we can. If anybody has a long drive, I understand you might want to get back. So just a couple of things to kind of get everybody thinking here. Networking questions, of course, as soon as we're done before we go outside. Probably take a 10-minute break if anybody wants to questions before if some of you are taking off. But do you have a business plan to move forward with UAVs, drones? It's not for everybody. I found myself talking to somebody the other day. I was like, you don't even really need a drone. But I'm just so excited about the technology. You just start talking about it. Then you realize, it might not be a good fit. So if you have a vision, today is a good introduction to drones. A lot of you are already flying them or using them, but hopefully today shows you workflows. 5 years ago, you asked me what a drone was going to be used for. Roof inspections, maybe. We didn't have a lot of ideas of what we're going to do, right? Marketing, videos. But today, by taking different softwares and tying them together, we can make a really good workflow, and they're only going to get better because there's a ton of companies out there developing software constantly to make this better, right? They know the amount of money and what you can do with UAVs and what's going to be available. So if you want to get into drones, there's people in this room already that are experts in it and that are flying them. So just a couple other ones, I guess. What would you get? Would you get a UAV, a Phantom, an Inspire, a fixed-wing solution? Do you have somebody that's going to be a professional pilot? Do you have somebody just go take a test? It's $150. It's 2 hours. The data extraction is something to consider. Who's going to extract the data? Who's a point cloud expert in the room, right? And then what I think is one of the keys, if you have a project manager, if you get a UAV, do you know what to do with it? Did you educate your staff, like the project managers, so they can sell it and sell it accordingly? Same with the BLK. You're only one person. You say, I'm going to buy a BLK. It's great. You have to convince everybody in your office it's the greatest thing since sliced bread too. Because just like I'm selling you guys on the idea, you go back to your office, you have to sell everybody on the idea, and you want every project manager selling that service that you do, whether it's scanning or the UAV and the drones. Cool. So we have the DJIs. There's a lot higher end drones out there that we can talk about if anybody has any questions or wanted to look at these. All of them have a certain niche of what they do. We kind of pushed the DJIs, the price point, and we couldn't believe the capabilities and the information we're getting back from them. And it's a great way to kind of get in the field to learn where's the market, where's your clients driving you? What do you need beyond that point when you purchase your next one as well? We can help you kind of purchase your next UAV and drone and everything. And I wanted to talk about one other one here. I think I might have missed it or it got turned off. If not, we'll just do that here. I guess I got turned off a little bit. So I got so excited about the DJI drones, and when we talked about the goggles, right, that I guess I forgot to have that one on there. So in this picture, you kind of see the Inspire, and we had the M200, the 210, the 220. There's other drones out there that are more industrial. This is the M600, the Matrice 600. There's also an S1000, and you can quickly see the size difference, right, between the two. So if we take a look at this one, it's a 20 megapixel camera. You have to go to the bigger drones in order to have a higher payload. Why do I need a heavy payload? you might want to carry something around to deliver pizzas. I want to deliver Starbucks, Amazon, right? We don't know where it's going to go. But the idea that camera is a 52 megapixel camera. So it's remarkable of, what we're getting with 20 megapixel. Imagine what you get from a 50 megapixel, right? It's quickly going to go to 100. Do you remember the 100? What was it? I can't remember the name. BL.
Phase 1 or
Hasselblad, yeah. That was 100 megapixel, right?
Hasselblad has 100.
100. So, just like scanning, it's going to be 100, it's going to be 200. I don't know where they're going to stop from photogrammetry over LiDAR. LiDAR is a race to get smaller, more accurate. Photogrammetry is going for the megapixels and the better cameras as well. This is Matt Albright with Mega Monument Engineering. Did you have any comments or anything you wanted to talk about that? Or if you want everybody to just come up and say hi if they have any questions?
Sure.
As well.
You want to catch me after?
Cool. And then I kind of hid this one, unfortunately. Jeff Shepherd's with Holland Engineering got into the fixed wing solution. Where's the sweet spot on that, Jeff? Are you 100 acres? Or you start at 300 acres?
It's capable of 300 to 600 acres on a
3 to
flight.
600.
And we could do 4 to 6 flights a day. But for smaller applications, like maybe 100 acres, then we fly a hexcopter.
Yep. Okay. I just wondered. We always talk about the UAVs. Is about 300 acres is kind of the cutoff, and it's kind of cool to see where that would pick up perfectly there. But 300 to 600 acres in one flight.
Depends on the resolution you want in the end.
Right. Cool. And typically that's going to give you geotiff images for the most part back, right? An entire area mapped.
Yep. So it really collects the same thing that you get with, hexcopter. Even yours is taking pictures.
Yep.
But in the end, yeah, you get a geotiff.
Yep. Well, do you know the speeds that this is typically flying compared to our quadcopters?
That flies, maximum speed is 70 miles an hour, but cruising speed is around 50.
50?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, much quicker, right? So the quality, what's the megapixels on that one?
It's not a super high megapixel unit.
Well, it's going much faster though.
Yeah,
Right.
I think we're at 20. I'd have to remember which payload. I think that one has like a 20 some odd megapixel camera.
Okay. And the idea of that too, because you're making a geotiff image, so you need the megapixels more for the point cloud to get the higher results and better results to extract the data. You get a 12 megapixel geotiff or 20 megapixel. A lot of people are just trying to make them smaller to bring them into the CAD software to be able to draw on top of them. Right? It's usually a file size issue or management issue at that point. So a lot of the ones that we're even getting in Pix4D, different softwares, we go in there and change it to dumb it down to make it easier to work with. So if anybody has any questions about the fixed wing, Jeff's over here too, or if we're walking around or going to fly this, feel free to talk to those guys. What's the lowest elevation you could fly at?
200 feet.
200?
Yeah, that you wouldn't want to fly. You wouldn't want to fly a mission lower than that, really.
Okay. Because of the angle of the camera, right, and different things,
Yeah,
the
various
overlap,
Yeah, even
Safety.
For safety.
70 mile an hour.
We haven't had anything go wrong with it, but if something does go wrong, you want enough space to be able to recover it.
Yeah. We had ours following Tyler around, so I thought that'd be a little bit more fun to have him chasing with that.
Yeah.
It'd be great. Very cool. Any other questions, anything we want to do before we go out and take it for a spin or anything? All right, so some of the things we'll do will help you get started with the BLK, help you get started with the UAVs, and of course we've always been around for your Autodesk software, Bluebeam software. So feel free to reach out to us anytime after the conference to kind of talk about things or anything you might have missed or circle back on these different topics. Cool. Any other questions? Awesome.
6/4 control points for redundancy or what?
Yeah, so if you take, especially like the GPS coordinate, if you set it too close to a building, you're not paying attention, and the satellites are in the wrong spot, you might not get a signal on that. And if you don't have at least 4 for it to connect, it doesn't give you a solution. So at least 5, because one might not work, or it's that one day you didn't get it. So then the larger the site, the more control you need as well. So that's why we start using more control. And typically, you want to put it on the outside of the project. So I always say if you have an L-shaped object, you'd want to put control on at least the minimum of each of the corners. So I think of it as a rubber sheeting, like photogrammetry. Think of it as if you only have an L shape and I put control here and control here, that edge could come in, right? So at least those limits. And if you got the targets, you put them in the middle too. We did see on one of the bigger facilities that we flew, it was visual inspection, so we didn't have to have it, but just putting control around the outside and not on the roof. It came back incredible, it looked great, but when we went back and did further inspection, It had over 1 foot, I don't know if you want to call it a drift or, if you take photogrammetry and there's a little bit off on each one and you're putting enough stitches together, it starts kind of bowing, right? It's either going to bow up and across or it's going to bow down like this. So in this case, we had a foot where it went up like this. So if we would have tied control on the roof, then it would have took that bow and it would have tightened it back down to where it was supposed to be. So we learned a good lesson there. We don't know everything about control points, but we know enough now. Hey, we got to do this. Tell you where to put them, and check your data. There's scan data, any point cloud data. Always inspect it as much as you can. I know it takes time. We're always in a hurry. Deadlines are always there, but it's better than putting out something that's not very good. Right? Your name's attached to that, so it's worth the time to inspect it and look at it. Cool. Any other questions? Most of the stuff we did today, we tried to put up on our YouTube channel. So the facility inspection, the Goodyear one, I think there's a couple other ones maybe. Take a look there. If there's anything else you guys want to see afterwards, just shoot us an email and we'll send it over to you. Cool. We're going to fly the fixed wing too?
I asked you if we could, but I didn't hear you do it.
Yeah, I don't know. We could peek out there. There's a big parking lot. I don't think it's probably enough, right? It's got to come in and land and everything. Yeah, exactly. I thought you just put it on the back of your truck and you're doing 70 and you let go and it just goes up. That'd be perfect. Cool. Any other questions? Anything drone related? Hopefully kind of met expectations and we got to see the BLK at least. So I appreciate everybody sticking around. If you got long drives, have a safe drive back. And anybody wants to go out in the parking lot, we'll probably go out there in 10 minutes, about 2:30, to fly the drone and get some hands on. Cool. Thanks, everybody.